Transformation doesn't happen without release. Anytime you are evolving, upgrading, becoming more of the person that you ultimately want to be, you are likely going to be prompted to release, whether that's old versions of yourself, whether that is behavior or patterns. Sometimes that's people. Sometimes it's material items like things in your home that you have accumulated for years. Sometimes it's literally moving. Sometimes it can be letting go of jobs that you have been doing or a job that you are currently in. Usually, at least in my experience and what I have witnessed in my closest relationships, anytime there is a big transformation that is happening, it is likely going to ask of you that something be let go so that the space can be created for the new version of you or the new location, the new home, or the new job to come in. And this letting go is not an easy thing. It is challenging for us to be willing to unhook ourselves from things that we have gotten comfortable with, from things that are familiar, things that we're used to, things that provide us with a sense of security and safety. It's not easy for us to know that we're being asked internally or even literally through external circumstances to let those things go. And then to also do that, even though we're terribly afraid and we're uncertain what's on the other side of letting that thing go, and we know that there's going to be pain associated with it. Or even if there's not pain, even if there is a joyousness to the release, there most of the time is this bittersweet nature to it, this reality that something is ending. And I think for the most part, even again, if it's a joyous occasion, there is this essence of reflection that comes up from that, and this essence of almost a somber attitude towards having to let something go, even if we're happy about it. And I've just really been sitting recently with the shedding that is required of us in order for us to transform. And one of my favorite metaphors to think of in times like this is of the snake shedding its skin. And you've likely heard this analogy before, or maybe if you've been hiking or on a nature trail, maybe you've seen the skin that gets left behind by a snake, and you know that they have become this new version of themselves. And I think this analogy is such an anchor for me during times of transformation and of change, because even in nature, things have to die in order for new things to bloom and to grow and to become. It's not just that we as humans are asked to do this, to let things go in order to create space. We see this in nature as well. Another thing that I think of besides the snake shedding its skin is in ecology controlled burns. And so that is essentially where sometimes indigenous peoples will set fires to areas of the land in order to help clear away, I think it's called the understory, clear away the layers of soil and leaves that have built up over time so that the soil can renew itself. And that is ultimately for the health of the forest itself. It's for the health of the land. But there has to be this process of purification. There has to be this fire that is set in order for that new space to be cleared, for all of that new vegetation and plant life to grow. So when we look around at life itself, there are so many symbols of transformation and what's required of us in the process of it. And we cannot move into our new life. We cannot move into the new version of ourself without something having to be released. And I've just been sitting with this awareness because even in my own life, there are many things that are changing. There are many internal aspects of who I am that I can feel are undergoing this transformation process once again. And so I've just been sitting with the awareness that there is no way for these changes, for this transformation to happen without this inevitable release, this creating space, this controlled burn, And sometimes the transformation that we find ourselves in is something that we have facilitated for ourselves. Maybe we choose to leave the job. Maybe we choose to end the relationship or start the relationship. Maybe we choose to go to a completely different city or state. We sometimes are the ones who decide that we are going to be the catalyst for change in our lives, and maybe those are the times where it is a bit easier for us to make the decision and there is more joy in it because we were the ones that ultimately catalyzed this and decided it. But then there are many other times where life itself hands us the gift of transformation, hands us the gift of change, and it usually comes abruptly without our awareness of it. Or even if we are aware that there is some significant change that's going to happen, it doesn't necessarily always prepare us for the emotional landing, like the emotional impact of the change, even if we're mentally aware that it may be coming. So we get handed this opportunity for transformation, and we get handed the opportunity from life itself to become something, to evolve in a way, to let go of something, to release, to transform. And with this opportunity comes so many different emotions and so much resistance. Sometimes resistance to the idea that we have to let go of something in order to make space. Resistance to the idea that we can't hold on to both, that we somehow are, trying to convince ourselves that we can keep the life that we have right now and also build the one that we ultimately want. And everything in nature, I think, that we see goes against that idea and is more in alignment with the reality that we do have to make some sort of peace ultimately with what needs to be released so that we can evolve. And I'm sure there are many times that you can recall in your life where you received that gift from life itself to change and to evolve. And you can now, on the other side of that change, see all of the benefits that you received from it. You can see the story in its full picture. Like while you were in it, while you were actively experiencing the change, there were so many moving pieces and parts. And so it was difficult to put the actual portrait together of how the story was going to unfold. And it was blurry and it was messy and confusing. But now in hindsight, you can look back on it with 20/20 vision and see it with clarity and see your story unfolding. You can see all of the uncertainty that you felt. You can see yourself making the decision even though you were afraid, and then you can see the results of that decision and the result of you releasing that old version of your life and that old version of yourself. And ultimately that has led to where you are right now. And sometimes that might be a good thing. You might feel good about those decisions, or maybe there's an opportunity for reflection there. But either way, ultimately, you can see the results of prior transformations and changes that have happened in your life. And so it's a cyclical process. We make a decision, we are presented with the opportunity to change, we let go, we upgrade, we get some new dimension of ourselves, we ascend to some new dimension of who we are. And then maybe we stay there for a little bit, and then the opportunity to change arises once again. It is this spiral of evolution that happens internally and externally, and it never ends. It never stops. And that's the thing I think ultimately that I'm practicing making peace with, is that the evolutionary journey never stops. There, internally or externally, is always going to be something that brings our attention once again to the opportunity to change or evolve or upgrade. And maybe we choose to embark on that journey, or maybe we don't. We ultimately have the choice. But I think if you're listening to the sound of my voice, if you somehow found this podcast episode, you are probably more inclined to be the kind of person that makes the choice to do the scary thing, to do the thing that leads you to a more authentic, true, powerful version of yourself. I'm sure you choose that. Or at least I would bet that you choose that. And so you make the choice to do the scary thing. And then 6 months from now, a year from now, there's another opportunity for you to make the choice to do the scary thing. And you just keep becoming more and more of yourself. You keep shedding these layers and these years of programming and of external advice and guidance and all of this external like pressure to be something or to follow a certain path. You release layers and layers and layers of that, and every single time you peel back a layer of who you thought you were or of what you thought you wanted, it's almost like you get closer and closer to the core of who you actually are, to your soul, if you believe in that, or to the most authentic version of yourself, if that verbiage feels a little bit more grounded to you. But we're on this path. We're on this path, and transformation is such a beautiful yet scary thing. And we cannot get the life we want by avoiding it. We can't create the life that we want for ourselves or become the version of ourselves that we feel strongly drawn to or strongly called to be by not doing the things that push us to get out of our comfort zone, by not doing the things that call us into what it is that we want to create in real time. I think there's this like essence of waiting that can come up during periods of transformation where we're waiting to feel confident, we're waiting to feel stronger, we're waiting to feel more empowered or expressive or whatever it might be. And like that version of you that you're waiting for to come so that you can actively embark on the transformation journey, that version of you exists in the journey. You'll not find that version of yourself before you start. That version of you is cultivated throughout the transformative process. Like as you let go of things and call things in, whatever that means to you, that thing that you're looking for, that confidence, that empowerment, that strength, that is built in the process of you shedding those layers and letting shit go and becoming more and more and more of yourself. You can't avoid that and hope that that version of you is just going to come up and then you can do the hard thing. You become the version of yourself that you ultimately want to be by doing the shit that scares you. Whether that's starting the podcast, whether that's doing that teacher training or instructor training, whether it's going to that location, going on that trip, taking that move, talking to that person, like whatever that thing is at your core that scares you, but you know ultimately leads to you becoming the version of yourself that you want to be, you don't get that reality by avoiding it and waiting to become the person who does the thing. You become the person who does the thing by doing the thing. So this is a podcast episode that is completely unscripted, if you cannot tell, and is me simply expressing what is on my heart and what has been on my mind about change and transformation and what is required of us. I believe in you. I believe in your ability to choose the path that is difficult that leads to your ultimate transformation and evolution. I believe in you to do the things that are difficult and push you to the edges of your comfort zone in order for you to find that version of yourself that you ultimately want to be. And I believe in you to stay steady enough, even in the fear, no matter what emotions or thoughts or doubts come up, to stay in the fear, to feel it, and to do the thing that you ultimately want to do anyway. There's no evolution without shedding who you thought you were or what you thought you wanted. That's just the process. That's just the natural progression of everything. So Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I hope and pray that one thing that I said clicked and resonated for you. And if something did, let me know in the comment section of this podcast episode. Would love to connect with you about your thoughts and what sort of changes you may be experiencing right now and how you're navigating them. So thank you for being here. If you would like to keep up with me and with the podcast, feel free to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and yeah, good luck on your transformation journey. I believe in you.